This is The Speaking Show. I'm David Newman, and you're tuned in to the #1 podcast for speakers, consultants, and experts who want to speak more profitably. My next guest, we go way back to when both of us were broke. Actually, that's not true. She was very successful. I was broke. Now we're both very successful, and here we are. So the awesome and amazing Brynne Tillman from Social Sales Link. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you. And I wasn't broke, but I'm a lot less broke since I took your first course.
There you go. There you go. Yes, yes, yes. Man, oh man, so funny. So I think we met back in 2007, 8, something like that, way, way long ago.
Yeah. So the first course I took with you was all like on the phone. There was no Zoom.
Yes, teleseminar.
It was teleseminar. And my assistant and I would sit around and go, okay, we got to do this. Okay, download this list. And we had so much to do. But I have to tell you, I closed some big accounts. And I'm sure a lot of what you taught me is still part of my repertoire. But there was one thing that changed not just how I do business, but the way I have my clients do business. I have like top 10 brilliant moments in my life, like moments of like light bulb change. And it's, what is your client doing before they need you? And like, there was this huge light bulb that went off in my head. And I said, from a content perspective, from a conversation perspective, like we're talking to all of our buyers, like where we are about our stuff. And by then it might be even too late. And so that was one of the major aha moments that I got from you that has resonated with me through my whole career. So thank you.
Tremendous. Well, no, you're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Well, let's fast forward to what the heck is going on with social selling today. And I know that the complaint that I'm sure you hear a lot, and the complaint I hear a lot just as a non-LinkedIn expert, is, man, LinkedIn is getting so spammy. All these people, they make the connection request and then immediately, hey, let's book a call. Hey, let me send you my thing. Hey, here's what we do. Do you want some? And it's become a gigantic pitch fest. Now, I know that for a decade plus, you've been preaching and teaching the complete opposite of that.
Right.
But give us the 2021 playbook. What should we be doing on LinkedIn and what should we not be doing on LinkedIn? And how are you guiding your clients to navigate effectively these days?
I love that question. And you are so right. The connect and pitch is a bait and switch, right? It's the worst thing anyone in a business development role can be doing on LinkedIn. The second worst thing, if you are in a business development role, is connect and forget. So everyone I talk to, they collect connections, right? So it's like they go to a networking meeting and I walk around the room handing out my card going, hi, I'm Brynne, and I take your card. Hi, I'm Brynne, and I take your card. And then I go home and I put a big rubber band around them and I stick them in the corner of my desk. That's what we're doing with connections on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And then we say, I don't have anyone to talk to. Yeah, because you've just been ignoring all of these people that have come up and shake your hand and you've turned your back and you've walked away, right? So hands down, connect and pitch is worse, but connect and forget is a close second.
Yes, yes, yes,
right?
yes.
But people don't know what to do or what to say.
Well, give us the social sales link philosophy. So starting at square one, I'm just like Joe Blow.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm doing some research online and I do my due diligence and I check out Brynne Tillman and I see what she's up to. And I go to your website and I look at some of your posts and I sort of see what you're about. And I do a little bit more research. Maybe I do a little media scan, see what's on YouTube, see what's in the business journals, see where you've been teaching and speaking and kind of what your business is all about. Stone cold stranger. Mm-hmm. First thing I want to do, I would like to connect with Brynne Tillman. Mm-hmm. What do I do at that initial connection request step? And what do I not do at that initial connection request step that would get Brynne's attention?
So there are 3 different paths that we can take. My favorite path is warm introduction. So I look and say, who do we have in common? So I see that David knows Lisa. I want to know Lisa. I find all this due diligence. I do all this due diligence on Lisa. And maybe I have 7 people that know Lisa. And I look at those 7 people and 3 of them know my name or I know them. So now I go to those 3 and say, hey, David, I hope you're well. Notice you're connected to Lisa on LinkedIn. I'm going to be reaching out to her in a few days. But before I do you have any insights that you might be able to share that could be helpful? And I do this to my 3 people.
So some of those people might not know Lisa personally. It might just be some random connection. And so those people are out, correct?
That's why I do all the people that are connected. Chances are one of them will know.
Yes.
Right? So, Joe comes back and says, I'm sorry, I don't remember Lisa. And Jamie comes back and says, I don't know how I'm connected. And David goes, oh my God, I love her.
Right.
Awesome. Great. So do you have 5 minutes to jump on a quick call? Because I would love to just get a little bit of background and insight. Most people at that point say, sure, right? Right. So we get on 5 minutes. I really appreciate it. How do you know Lisa? What's your background? This is why I want to reach out to Lisa. Based on what you know about her, do you think that would be valuable to her for us to talk based on what I would like to talk to her about?
Yeah.
I want you to say, yes, that would be valuable. Awesome. Now I can go in one of 2 paths, depending on our relationship. I can say, I really appreciate these insights. Would you potentially be open to making an introduction? Or, I'm very, very cautious because now I'm putting work on the other person and I lose control of the sales process. So my preference is, David, thank you so much for this background on Lisa. When I reach out to her, is it okay if I mention that we had this conversation and you thought we'd be a good fit? Awesome. Now I reach out to Lisa. Lisa, David Newman and I were chatting the other day and your name came up in our conversation. After telling him a little bit about what I'm up to, he thought it made sense for us to meet. Let's connect and set up a time to chat. Now we connect. I'm assuming the conversation because David said so.
Yeah. So choice number 1, that is not your preference.
So this
when
is
you
my
say,
preference.
hey, could you introduce me?
Oh, yeah.
Does that have to happen on LinkedIn or could that be an email introduction just as well?
Back in the day, it could have been over lunch.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right.
But this strategy is about you taking control after we get Lisa's permission to use her name in the connection request.
Yes. So when David says you can use my name, when I reach out to Lisa, I'm dropping your name. And 50% of those people turn into conversations simply because I dropped a name of someone they respect.
Right. Now, the mantra that I'm picking up here, which no one does, I mean, would you agree that 90% plus of the clients who come to you are not doing this and they're just playing the LinkedIn game alone? And what I'm picking up from you is LinkedIn is not a game that is meant to be played alone.
Yes, it takes a village.
So we're leveraging our network to grow our network and to personally accelerate these introductions and the effectiveness of these introductions. Even though we ultimately are making the approach, we're putting in a person's name, we're putting in a connection, we're putting in a relationship that they already recognize and respect. So it's like, oh, you're a friend of Brynne? Sure, totally.
Right. That's how I closed TD Bank. So I went to my clients' connections because you can reverse engineer this. And I searched my clients' connections and I saw that Rob Petcove was connected to Rob Curley, by the way, 9 years ago. And I'm still training Rob Curley's team this week. Like I'm still training TD Bank 8 or 9 years later. And I said, how do you know Rob Curley? And he said, oh, both our boys have juvenile diabetes and we've been in the same. It wasn't even a professional connection. So when he actually made the introduction, Rob Curley did not take my appointment because he was so excited to meet Brynne and learn about LinkedIn. He took it because his buddy Rob Petcove asked him to. Right?
There you go.
Yeah. So it takes a village.
Hey, this interview is a real moneymaker. If you're serious about ramping up your reach and revenue as a speaker, trainer, or expert, book a confidential speaker strategy call with our team. The link is doitmarketing.com/call. It will be the most valuable 45 minutes you invest in your speaking-driven business. Speaking of value, let's get back to the show. Now, let's say, because I'm just channeling our listeners, you say, well, Brynne, of course, you're a rock star. You've got like zillions of connections. Everyone knows someone who wants to know you or who you want to know. What if I don't have a lot of connections? I go through my 3 people and it's like 0, 0, 0, and I've struck out. Mm-hmm. Can I still make some sort of intelligent approach without that person in common?
Path number 2.
Let's go.
So path number 2 is engage on what they're engaging on. And path number 2 can have many different branches. But let's say they're engaging on a Tony Robbins post. Great. So now I look, I engage, I comment on their comment. And now I reach out to them. Hey, David, loved your comment on Tony Robbins' post. Did you hear his podcast 2 weeks ago on X, Y, and Z? It was amazing. So what is that like? We're starting a conversation. I'm not saying start a sales conversation. We'll get there. Just start a conversation, right? If I walk into that same networking meeting and there's a circle of people that are talking, which are all the comments on Tony Robbins, by the way, those are the circle of people that are talking about the keynote that we're going to be going to see in the next 20 minutes. And I walk into that circle and I go, hi, I'm Brynne. I help companies just like you. They would like, what are you talking about, right? But if I walk into that circle and I listen to what they're talking about, which are the comments, I'm reading them, and I engage appropriately and ask questions about the keynote, we start a conversation. And eventually it will move into another, like it gets there, right? And so, I noticed you do this. Who's your target market? I'm a good connector, right? Like whatever it is. Oh, well, if I'm connected to anyone, I'd love to find out about your business. And that's what a normal conversation would be in a real life situation. Well, guys, this is now our real life situation is networking and meeting people and engaging and starting conversations digitally.
Yeah, that's really, really profound. And I love what you said about warming up the connection with liking and commenting. And, I like a couple of things over the few days. I comment on something that you've commented on, or even I go to your comment, I add something and I say, oh, by the way, I also love what Brynne said, right? It's like, oh, gosh, I love what Brynne said. I love this guy already because he likes me or he likes my comment.
It's just naturally. So I will tell you, so you are one of my favorite podcasts to listen when I walk. And I will get a podcast that has some brilliance in it. And I use this. So, which I'm sure you're fine with in most podcasts. There's a few that I use. I use Selling from the Heart. There's a few select ones that I know when I send to a prospect will bring great value, right? So I will say, heard this podcast, great to be engaging. Looks like you're a speaker. I don't know if you had a chance to hear David Newman's podcast with Meredith Powell, but here were some of the takeaways. I'd love to share that with you.
That was a good interview, by the way.
It was a great interview. And I actually used that one quite a few times, right? It was, but that's what I do, right? And sometimes I'll say, if you go to minute 23.5, whatever, right? They talk about this and it was my mic drop moment. And they're like, that has nothing to do with me. I just provided them real value.
Yeah.
So if I want to engage with speakers, I'm going to leverage your podcast to start that conversation.
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's tremendous.
But
I am an asset in your toolkit.
Yeah, absolutely. But we should all be doing that. Find the podcast that your buyers would like.
Yeah.
And start the conversation around someone else's content.
And you can do the same thing, I'm guessing, Brynne, with articles or links or YouTube videos or Fast Company or Harvard Business Review or any of these things that someone is some executive and their company's going through some big major merger and say, hey, Bob, I just read about the merger. Here's a great article from 3 years ago on Harvard Business Review on how VP level people can thrive during a merger. Feel free to share it with your team.
Yeah. I came across this article and thought of you because you're going through this merger.
Yeah. I love what you're saying about this is like networking in a room. Many people do not think of it as networking in a room, and they just get weird. They get stilted. They get frozen. They're like, I don't know what to do. So the awkward part, I think, comes when, okay, Brynne said, take it easy, engage in conversation, be helpful, be useful, be friendly, be supportive. People are asking now, okay, Brynne, I got that, but how about the sales part? When do I transition? When do I switch gears? When do I take out the sales hammer and start to hit them for the first time? What is that transition point? Mm-hmm. How do you know when you're there? What can you do kind of leading up to it so it doesn't seem sudden or weird? What's the transition into more of a business development conversation?
Yeah. So sometimes if they don't respond to, I sent them a podcast, I'll just go through. So then I'll reach out going, what's your favorite podcast in the sales and marketing realm?
Easy to answer questions.
Right. So they're going to say this and this. So let's say, this on sales, just say, I appreciate that. I'm going to go listen to that. Thank you for that input. This is what I would say. I'm not sure if you're exploring social selling, but if you are, let me know. I've got resources around that topic. Now, I don't send my link. It's permission-based now. So, based on what I'm hearing, I think you might get some value from my gated resources. I don't say gated resources, by the way, right?
But of course.
But just for the record.
That's a placeholder for us that are in the know.
Fill in the blank.
Right.
Let me know. I'd be happy to send you the link. Now, we tested this. We did 100 people where we actually sent the link and 19 clicked through. Not bad. Then we did 100 people where we asked permission to send the link of our own stuff. You can send other people's links because that doesn't feel like spam. Right. But if you send a gated link to someone without permission, they feel a little spammy.
Yes.
So we did this another 100 where we asked permission. 69 said sure, and 58 actually took the content. So 19 to 58. But we also started a conversation with the other folks. And so we knew they had some interest. So even if they didn't download it, we could come back to them. And there are times where I'm like, I hope you enjoyed the content. I know they didn't download it, right? This was one of the biggest takeaways that someone else talked about. What was yours? Now they're like, oh my God. So some of them now went back and downloaded it because they were embarrassed that they asked for it and didn't.
Right.
So, I just want you guys to just step back, treat the person on the other side of the message the same way you would if they were on the other side of the table. Now, how does that transition? Now they've downloaded our stuff. We can now go into, hopefully at that point, when they download this is now the conversation I have. This is either the marketing that I have or this is the phone call that I make, right? So that's how we get to our content.
Now, I have in my LinkedIn account a whole bunch of you don't want to see the inside of my LinkedIn. I have hundreds of unanswered connection requests inbound. That's not that bad. What's bad is I have lots and lots of first-time messages that no one responded to, and I didn't do anything either. So they connected. They said,
and
yeah,
then
let's connect. Sure, whatever. And then I say, hey, I saw that you do the easy to answer question, the simple yes or no kind of binary conversation starter, nothing. I don't know what to do after that. My temptation after the second or the third one is to go Ferris Bueller on them, right? Bueller, hello, Bueller, hello. Right. But that's not nice. That's not polite. That would be weird. What do you do when there's no response? So what's your first no response? What's your second no response? And when do just leave them the heck alone?
Interesting. So I have played with this and some things work. Some people take it personally. Some people don't. But if I ask a question, they don't respond, I will come back one time with, I appreciate that you reached out to connect with me, but it doesn't sound like you're up for a conversation. May I ask why you sent me the invitation initially? Why did you want to connect with me? So some people say, oh my God, I missed your message.
Yes.
Right. And then that's great. So I'm like, you asked to connect with me. I connected and started a conversation and I didn't hear back from you. Can I ask why you wanted to connect? And then if they don't respond, I disconnect.
Let's go back maybe half a step. I thought initially we were asking to connect with them, but
Okay.
you're saying that you have this inbound connection thing that you'll message them something and you will invite them to connect with you?
No, this is I accept their connection request and send them a message.
Oh, this is the inbound people, right?
This is
I'm
all
talking
inbound.
about our outbound people. Like,
So
let's
our
say we make a
outbound
connection.
people, I don't cold call outbound. I already had an engagement with them, either on a piece of content or from a warm introduction request.
Right?
So I don't get ghosted the same way most people do.
Oh, okay. So you're connecting with them based on the conversation, but then they stop responding for some reason.
But we had some kind of rapport. And then I said, hey, based on what I hear from you, you might get some value from my free resources. Are you interested? And now they ghost me.
Now they ghost you. What happens?
Okay. So I let it sit. So here's a perfect story. This happened to me, someone that was working at HubSpot. And I was like, I'm getting in HubSpot, right? So excited. And then I got ghosted, right? 3 years later, I get from a totally different company an email that said, we just made a decision on a LinkedIn social selling, they were in Colorado, a LinkedIn and social selling company. But our new marketing person said, wait, talk to Brynne first. So even though we've already gone through committee and chose a company, she said, just hold off and talk to Brynne before you make an offer. And I closed the deal. I got ghosted by her a couple years ago. So here's what happens. You need to keep nurturing. You need to put good content out there. You need to stay top of mind. The sale will happen when the time is right. It wasn't right where she was, right?
Yeah.
And not everyone is a lead, and not everyone is a lead today. But if you show up as a resource, you provide insights. And if this is like a high priority company, socially surround. Don't just go after your decision maker, but go after the people around them by offering value and insights. Let your name pop up when they start to have that conversation.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're speaking at a convention and one person reaches out to you, I guarantee you, no matter what they tell you, there's a committee.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So we tend to go, ooh, they like me. They really, really like me. And then it goes to committee and they're like, I haven't heard of her, but we know Mark Hunter, so let's go with him. Now,
Yes.
we know the names. We know, we know these people. So it's like nobody gets fired for hiring IBM. Same with being a speaker, right?
Same with Mark Hunter. That's the problem. No one gets fired for hiring Mark Hunter.
Right. That's right. So just have a little fun with that. But the bottom line is if they all know your name, you are not so share content, get your videos in front of them, connect with them and share value. You don't have to do a lot more than that because you don't want to annoy your champion. It's not like you want to go over their head.
Yeah.
But I'm talking to David, I'm talking to Fran, I'd love to connect. And now you nurture them with stuff. When your name is on the short list, they all know you. And you can find them on LinkedIn.
Super quick commercial break. Isn't this interview amazing? If you'd like to get more ideas on how to start or grow your speaking business fast, pop over to our free training at doitmarketing.com/webinar. One of my other friends had the following advice, and it struck me as a little bit weird, but I wonder what your take is on it. He says, let's say that you want to talk to the executive director and the conference chair and so forth. Step one is to establish relationships with some lower level people in the company so that I'm going to connect with the receptionist. I'm going to connect with the salespeople. I'm going to connect with the admin team. Because then when I make the request, It's going to be, oh, well, so-and-so is already connected to 4 of our people. Maybe this is someone important and they're much more likely to take your connection. True, not true? What's your take?
100% accurate. Absolutely.
Who are the best people to start with? Is it salespeople?
Salespeople all accept
Yeah.
your connect, and they all do. Sales, marketing, and you can reach out to them and tell them. I've had salespeople help me win deals internally.
Wow. How does that work?
So they're salespeople, right? So I build a rapport, I find out what they do. If they're open, if it's a company I believe in and if I want to speak or work or train them, hopefully I believe in them. I said, love to chat. I'd love to know, what's your territory? I might have people in my network that I can introduce you to. Let's hop on the call and I give first, right? And I'm totally transparent because when I connect with them, I will actually say, hey, I'm talking to Fred later on this week. I'm looking forward to potential opportunity. Maybe I'll be speaking in front of you. Cross your fingers, right? Like whatever that looks like. So it's totally transparent. And then I'll say, hey, do you have any insights on hiring manager, Mark? Right? Do you have anything that might be able to help in that, world? Oh, yeah, I know him pretty well. Here's kind of what they're looking for, or here's what we did last year at the kickoff meeting. And I can get some insights. And some of them will say, hey, I'm happy to make an introduction for you. And I'll say, well, I'm sort of already in the mix. They know who I am. Well, what do you want? So I'll say, if you can just copy us both in an email and just say that we had a great conversation and that we had a lot of fun. And then I can take it from there. But it's just, there's so many opportunities when we socially surround inside of an organization. We say go wide and deep.
Yeah.
The other thing is LinkedIn tells us there's a 20% turnover year over year in every job. So it means 1 out of 5 people you're talking to is going to be gone. So if you can socially surround the organization, you won't lose momentum.
Such an important point. And I can't tell you, I'm sure you have clients where this has happened. I have clients where this has happened. They said, oh, I have this great relationship with company XYZ. I've been doing business with them for 5 years, but then my guy retired or then my guy got fired. And it's like, well, did you have other relationships in the company? No. That's a problem, right? Because then you're exposed. And if your success with a paying client hinges on a single human relationship, you don't have a client, you got a friend. And when that friend is gone, that business is gone.
Yeah. So socially surround your clients and your prospects.
Yes. We could talk all day and we will right now.
Okay.
No, but one more thing that I know you believe in and that you teach all of your clients and it's part of your coaching and consulting work. People post content on LinkedIn with no strategy, no intentionality. They look at kind of LinkedIn messaging as their prospecting channel, and they don't pay any attention to the content or the strategic use of the content in the prospecting and conversational part. How do we turn content into conversation?
Well, the first thing we have to do is stop sharing content you want to share and start sharing content they want to consume, right? We have in our heads that they're going to love all the things we want to tell them. And we're mostly wrong. So we've got to really step back, do some research, do a couple of polls, learn what is it that your prospects and your clients are attracted to and want to engage on, and stop leading with your solution and make sure that content is leading to your solution, right? Like that's number 1. Number 2, just because you post it doesn't mean they'll come. It's a big myth. So what does that mean? It means we have to invite them. So there is a little send button at the bottom of every single post on LinkedIn. Get it into the inbox of the people that you want to get their opinion on it. So I probably get it in a piece of content in front of 20 or 30 people. Maybe 6 of them will start to engage in the first hour. And then LinkedIn says, wow, lots of people like this. We're going to keep it up in the algorithm so that other people get to see it. And you can have a piece live on for 24 or 48 hours if you get the right engagement fast enough. But it's a combination of posting it, inviting, and engaging. Make sure every single comment that you get, you like and comment. You like and comment. If there are 50 comments, 25 of them should be yours.
Love that. Now, so send it. When you say send it to prospects, send it to your warm connections who you're already in conversation with.
Yes. So you have to be a first degree connection, but I might post and might be curated content. Maybe I post a Fortune article for speakers, small business owners, right?
Sure.
Now I do a search in LinkedIn for my first degree connections that are speakers. And I go, oh, I have 42. So I'm going to now send that individually to 42 people saying, hey, as a speaker, I really thought you'd get some great value from this post. And I'm sending it to them. I'd love to hear your feedback and comments.
And then they get a LinkedIn message with your message and the link to the content.
And the link to the post.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned the first hour. And I've heard this before, that there's some algorithmic magic to engagement within the first hour of posting something. True or false? Or what are the parameters around that?
Yeah, so there's a lot that goes into the algorithm. The first hour is really important. The first 3 hours is next important. And dwell time is important. That means how long are they staying there? LinkedIn looks at certain behaviors. So if you have text and someone clicks on see more, LinkedIn says this is a good post. If you have a video and they stop and they watch it for more than 10 seconds, LinkedIn says this is a good post. If you have an uploaded document where they can scroll through, LinkedIn says if they're scrolling, it's a good post. So dwell time also matters a lot. The other piece is the quality of the engagement and the people engaging. So if you have 10 people that engage that have 200 connections, it's not as powerful as someone who's engaging with 5,000 connections. And that may also be because the percentage of the network that's seeing it may fall into that. But I think LinkedIn looks at it as credibility. And hashtags matter.
Oh, no. So tell us about hashtags. Do we use 1? Do we use 2 or 3? Do we use 10? Do we go nuts?
Yeah. So there's been studies. And for the longest time, the study said 3 is optimum. But Richard van der Bloem did a study that says 9 is fine, 10 it breaks.
Wow.
Yeah. So he did a study. I love data, right? So, and we had him on actually as a master class. So we got to, a lot of my knowledge comes from 2 people, Andy Foote and Richard van der Bloem, because they actually study. And we do a little study, but like I did a study of 200 people and I was like, I'm done.
Right. It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. So yeah, I leverage other people, but I'll name drop them. So
yes, there you go. And we're socially mentioning them now on a podcast.
that's right.
So there you go. Well, Brynne, let's bring this home. I know you have some really cool gifts for people and some ways for them to connect with you. We'll get to that in a moment. Before we get to that, if people were to take one central idea from our entire conversation today on how to do social selling the right way, especially prospecting and relationship building and making connections that matter, what would you hope that one central takeaway from our conversation would be?
Maybe detach from how much a prospect is worth to you and attach to how much you're worth to the prospect.
Wow. There's a mic drop. There's a mic drop. That's totally fantastic. Yes, 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 and amen. Well, I know you have some cool gifts and people are going to want to know more. How do they get connected and stay connected to more Brynne Tillman brilliance?
Aw, thanks. So the first thing is we have a free membership. We also have paid memberships, but we have a free one. And it's linkedinlibrary.com or socialsaleslink.com/library, goes to the same place. It's a free membership. And we have over 100 resources. And this will be included in that. And there are links to really great master classes. And I mean, just some content that shouldn't be free, but it is. So that's great. The second thing, which is also in that membership, is a day in the life of a social seller. And it's an ebook that literally is telling you what my routine is. What am I doing? And so people like that. So that's socialsaleslink.com/day in the life, all lowercase.
Very nice. Well, Brynne Tillman, you are such a rock star. We've had you on before. We're going to have you on again because you're such a great friend, such a great resource. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much. This was so fun.
Well, that wraps up another episode of The Speaking Show. Hey, tell you what, if you like us, rate us and review us on iTunes. Subscribe. Tell a friend. Go grab the notes and downloads and extras at thespeakingshow.com. See you next time.